clear perpetrators, but what exactly happened to them isn't known. So it's it's not unsolved, but it's not solved. So, I mean, it is, I guess. I don't know. It's one of those that's kind of, in between. But this case really struck me when I first heard about it because it's something that seems like it could happen to me or my friends. Like, it's something that is just so frightening to think about because of how real it is to some people, I guess. And this occurred in 2021, so it's pretty recent as well. Alright, let's get into the case. Hilda Marcela Cabrales Arzola was born on November 29th in 1994, and she was 26 years old at the time of this case. She was almost 27, and she was an architect and interior designer who recently moved to Los Angeles, California from Mexico to just pursue her dreams and live that American dream, as so many others do. Christy Giles was born on November 4th, 1997 in Birmingham, Alabama, and she was 24 years old. She was also living in LA, and she was a model and influencer. She was actually signed to a label. I don't know if she was signed to this label at the time of her death, but she was signed to a label at some point called Wilhelmina, which was actually the modeling agency that first signed Kendall Jenner when she began modeling. So, just, a fact about that. And she was married to a man named Jan Sillers, who worked as a visual effects specialist in Hollywood. So he worked on visual effects. That was his specialty, on films and TV shows. They had married recently at the Burning Man Festival in Las Vegas. And Hilda, or I'm going to call her Marcela, like I said, Marcela and Christy were new-ish friends, and they had connected through their love for interior design. They also had some mutual friends. They decided to go out one Friday night on November 12th of 2021, and they were going to an art gallery opening and then to get drinks. And a lot of this is coming from Jan, Christy's husband, because he had texts from her kind of updating him. Christy was updating him on where they were going and what they were doing throughout the night. And they attended the art gallery, and they were there for a while, and then they went to go get drinks at a bar in West Hollywood called Soho House, which is a pretty well-known bar, I think. And then they went to a warehouse party after that to meet up with some friends, and this was in East LA. And they met up with a mutual friend that night. They were meeting a mutual friend at the party, but this friend it hasn't been proved that they have anything to do with anything involved in this case, but they did request to be anonymous, which I understand. And they arrived at this warehouse party around 1 a.m. Also in attendance at this party was David Pierce, Brant Osborne, and Michael Ansbach. At some point at the party, they were separated. Christy and Marcella separated and got, that can happen sometimes at a busy place. So they were separated, and Marcella eventually ran into David Pierce, and there's actually a picture of them together. And when there's photos and videos involved in cases, it just makes it all the more eerie just knowing what's to come. It's awful. So they were hitting it off, hanging out, and eventually they came back together because Marcella texted Christy let's do a line. And then according to a friend that was with them, I don't know if this is one that wanted to be anonymous, but he said that he witnessed them do this coke that David Pierce gave to them. And there has been a lot of shame thrown, like shame, from people, especially towards Christy because she was married, and also just in general because they were using drugs. And I just want to say it's really fucked up to do that because, like, people do drugs. It's just a fact. And yes, should they have been in this situation? Probably not. But in LA, in the industry that Christy is in specifically, but and David, I think he was some kind of producer. He was somehow kind of high up in Hollywood, not high up, but he was in the industry, and in that industry, people do drugs and they party. And it's not like anyone said that Christy was doing anything that would be nefarious, because she's married, like cheating on her husband or anything. So I just don't like that. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a situation that I could see happening to people I know, to myself. Like I don't do drugs now, but I've had my moments, and we all have, and not all of us, but it's just not cool to blame anyone for anything, especially when they didn't deserve what happened to them. Like, I don't like that. So just, I understand that everyone has a right to their opinion, but just try to hold judgment back. But I just wanted to say that because I watched a video on this case from Annie Elise, who I love, Annie Elise 10 to Life, and I will link that in the description. And sorry, it's really windy outside if you could hear that craziness that just happened. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that real quick. Anyways, they did this cocaine provided from David, allegedly, and then there was surveillance footage found that showed the two women leaving the warehouse with the three men, David, Brant, and Michael. And it is alleged that they arrived at David's apartment around 5 a.m. and then around 5:30 a.m. Christy texted Marcela saying, "Let's get out of here," with the wide-eyed emoji, and that is something I can relate to. I've literally done that same thing with one of my friends when we were at a party or just somewhere that we did not want to be. I was like, "Girl, let's get out of here." Marcela replied to her text saying, "Yes, I'll call an Uber 10 minutes away." So apparently she called an Uber, got an Uber, and because the Uber was seen on video footage arriving at the apartment building around 5:45 a.m., but they left about 5 minutes after they arrived because no one came out to the car. And over 12 hours later, both Christy and Marcela would be dropped off unconscious at separate hospitals at separate times. Christy was dropped off at Southern California Hospital in Culver City by three masked men in a black Toyota Prius with no license plate. And then Marcela was dropped off at Kaiser Permonte West Los Angeles Hospital 2 hours later, where she was put on life support because she had no signs of brain activity. And then her family would later take her off life support on November 28th, the day before her 27th birthday. So fucking sad. Both of these women died from multiple drug intoxication, and their deaths were ruled as homicides by the LA County Medical Examiner's Office. The medical officials said that Christy had cocaine, fentanyl, ketamine, and was able to track her location using a location sharing app that they had with each other, and he noticed that her phone was pinging at a strange unknown location. And he was in San Francisco at the time when she was at this party and when all this happened, so he actually left early to go home because he knew something was wrong and he couldn't get a hold of her. And he later saw that her phone went to the Culver City hospital, and he eventually was able to find out actually who lived in the apartment that was strange and unknown to him by using social media. So he did his detective work. So what it looks like is, and of course not of course, but a lot of times when someone overdoses on something, the family members and friends will come out and say they would never do that. They would never do that drug. They weren't like that. And I completely understand why this is the reaction, but the truth is we don't know what happened. They could have voluntarily done these drugs. They could have not. We know they voluntarily did cocaine at least, but we don't know about the other ones, and the GHB is very suspicious because that is the date rape drug. And so we don't know what happened, but these dudes clearly knew that they were dead, or near death, and they just dumped him off at the hospital because they didn't want to get in trouble either for, I don't necessarily think that they purposefully killed them. Like, I don't even think that's something that's speculated, but they had the drugs. It's eventually discovered who the three men were: David, Brant, and Michael, from the video footage and from Jan's search on social media, finding out that David lived in the apartment. And David Pierce was taken into custody in December of 2021 and subsequently charged with killing Christy Giles and Hilda Marcela Cabrales. Ever since his arrest, Pierce has been detained in LA County Jail. He was charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 felony counts of sale to sell a controlled substance, fentanyl. Reports state that after his arrest, multiple women came forward accusing him of sexual assault, and he was charged with multiple counts of sexual assault against 7 different women between the years 2007 and 2020. His roommate and actor Brant Osborne was also charged with 2 counts of accessory after the fact. Clearly this David dude is a piece of shit, and it makes my blood boil. These individuals who are like this, it's very, very frustrating because he was just a predator. This is just what he did, and he finally got caught, thank God. And it's just unfortunate that, it took as long as it did. I mean, he got charged for the first time in 2007. If David Pierce is found guilty, he could face up to 128 years to life in prison. Christy's husband, Jan, the loved ones that they had. This is a very heartbreaking case, and like I said, my heart just goes out to everyone who was involved in their lives and who cared about them and loved them. They didn't deserve any of this, obviously, and it's just so ominous, the fact that there were pictures taken in the warehouse, and that element always makes it all the more creepy and sad with these cases. So that is all for this video, and thank you for listening / watching. I will see you in the next video.